All right, welcome everybody. This one's a treat. So this is going to be a session on the plugin architecture that's being built for BigBlueButton 3.0. A lot of work has gone into it. And Lucas Zawacki, I'll introduce him. He is working at MconfLive as the tech lead for MconfLive project, their version of BigBlueButton. Lucas and MconfLive are core contributors to the BigBlueButton project and have been responsible for many new features making their way back into BigBlueButton, such as the external video player. I'll add to that MconfLive has layered on top of BigBlueButton lots of extra capabilities, and in version 3.0 coming up, they are moving those instead of being like kind of in the core to plugins. So it's really pushing our plugin with lots of real world use of it, which is going to benefit everybody. So Lucas, from that, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to speak at BBB World, Fred. Also, I was very happy to see in the last presentation the external video so seamlessly integrated. So it's pretty nice to see the features that we contribute being used in excellent presentations. Yeah, so as Fred was saying, what I'm going to talk to you about today is how we're planning on porting a lot of different features that we use every day on our system, which is called MconfLive. MconfLive is our private fork of BigBlueButton. It is closed source, but we always keep it up to date to the open source version, and we are constantly contributing everything that we think makes sense back to the open source project. So lots and lots of features go back to open source. And we really prefer it that way because once something is open sourced, it's on the hands of the community, more or less. We'll get lots more of bug reports. We have more eyes looking into it, and it's easier to maintain. But not everything makes sense for us to port as open source. But this is a tale about us trying to get to a better place with our code and contribute a lot of new features to BigBlueButton core. Okay, so if you want to check out our private fork MconfLive, you can do so at alice.vc. This is our hosted solution for BigBlueButton, and it has lots of different features. It has a different design. It has a kind of a different feel. It's a lot different than the vanilla BigBlueButton version. And for this, we have lots of code customizations. We have lots of different configurations, and that's the way that we had to do that for a few years now. We are currently on BBB 2.6, which is usually how we do it, because since we're always having to constantly merge and develop our features to the newest version, we're usually a few versions behind. But we have the benefit of it being really stable, having a lot of testing. And so, as I said, we have to merge our code base with BBB from time to time. And what's possible to be sent upstream, merged into BigBlueButton, we try to do it. But this entire process is kind of hard. It's very taxing on our limited time that we have to develop our product. And so we really wanted to have a better way of dealing with that. And so we've been huge proponents of having some kind of plugin architecture, of having something that we could maybe share almost the entire code base with BigBlueButton, but also have lots of customizable parts and customizable places where we can fit all of these different features that we have. And so some of the things that we are looking into porting to BigBlueButton here are on this table. If you've seen my Summit presentation, this is kind of an enhanced version of the Summit presentation, so maybe you've already been spoiled of it. But we have something that we call the audio player, which is a version of the external video component which can play audio and not take up the entire presentation area, because we found that some teachers are wanted to play music or play some kind of sound on the background of the meeting, and they lost the presentation area. So we have something to do with that. We have the questions feature, which has actually been ported to 7 a few years back by our team. We have something that we call the custom feedback screen, which is a screen where users can give us feedback about the meeting, if they liked it, if they had problems, if they hit some bug. And this has been very useful for our support team in getting lots of feedback about what's going wrong on the meetings when things go wrong. We have a tour plugin, which is something that will just highlight different parts of the UI to teach users how to use use BigBlueButton for the first time. And we have something which we call the generic component, which is actually putting an entire different application on our website inside the HTML5 client, which is, and also we have media upload, which is uploading videos and audio from our computer, not just from a link. And most of these features are in some form or other of our products. And so I have here, this is actually BBB26. This is showing the audio player, how it actually works. This will play in a synchronized manner for all the participants of the meeting. And we can actually draw up audio files here or browse audio files, and they'll be uploaded. And so you can see that this is a kind of version of BigBlueButton 2.6, but we have different design components. We have different features here. And also this is a demonstration of generic component. So you can actually embed Google Docs inside the presentation area, and you could edit a Google Docs with all the other participants in the meeting. It's pretty useful. And so the idea is that we can get most of these things in the regular vanilla version of BigBlueButton 3.0, so that we can be on the same code base. And I'll quickly introduce the plugin system so that you can understand what we'll be working with. So plugins are just JavaScript files included in the client configuration. The work done for this to be a reality is pretty amazing technically. Kudos to Guilherme and to Thiago. And on the highest level, plugins can hook into different parts of the UI and will give us the ability to render our own components on parts of the BigBlueButton UI. We can access meeting data that's available to the current user, and we can store and retrieve our own plugin data using something called data channels. And if anyone wants to look at code samples or how the API works, everything is available at this repository, BigBlueButton HTML plugin SDK. And if you want to develop your own plugin or just get a sense about how the plugins work, all these are samples. Most of the features that are available for us on the plugin system have a specific demo. So you can see how you would create a button on the action bar, how you'd create an element on the sidebar, how you'd render something on the presentation area, how you query different kinds of data. So this is indispensable if you really want to develop a plugin for BigBlueButton. And so I'll show you some of the progress that our team has made with our plugins. And so it's mostly visual. I don't have I won't share my screen and show it running on our product, but this is the questions plugin. So if anyone is familiar with how questions work on 2.7, you have an area on the sidebar where viewers can type questions, and the questions will not appear synchronously in a list as if it were the chat component. They will actually go into a moderator list, and the moderator can then approve questions, answer them via text, or just show them publicly, and then users can vote on the questions to indicate, okay, this is also my question, and then they can be discussed. So this is a very simple implementation of the same system as a plugin. And as Fred has put it in his presentation, doing this with something that was in the core is actually pretty nice, because then we can get a lot of code out of the core. We can make the base BigBlueButton version lighter. We can make the code simpler for new developers trying to read it, but we can still get this functionality. It's just not, we're just missing some styles and some flair here, but most of the functionality is already here. This is the presenter view, so the moderator view. So here you can answer the questions via text. You can show them to the other users. This is a GIF showing the tour plugin. So it's pretty simple, but we can start the tour from the menu here on the top right. And then it will just highlight different components and present the user with a text description of the component. And then you can just show this to first-time users. You can just run this whenever you like. Really, really simple version of it, but it's pretty nice already. And this is also a simple plugin. This is actually building upon one of the sample plugins that already exists. And the idea here is to highlight users by using the @ sign. And so whenever we use @ sign with one of the usernames on the user list here, it will be highlighted in blue to everyone, but highlighted in red. This is kind of just an example to the actual user. So the message will be highlighted will show us highlighted to the per training user that has been added on the conversation. And we actually want to get to have more things on the chat. 3.0 already has support for Markdown, for emojis, for lots of interesting stuff. Code, there's been work on a plugin that does code highlighting, but we also want to get mentions, replies, and also the ability to have something running where on the text box as well before the message is sent. But this is a work in progress. We still have to discuss a lot on this front, but this is just a simple example of this working. And this is something that during my summit presentation, I said that we would be doing as a plugin. But we're actually, after some discussion internally, we thought about doing this as a separate application. Currently, if you guys use Allos, if you do a meeting on Allos or product, it will redirect you to this screen after you end the meeting. Here you can leave feedback on numeric feedback by number of stars, and then you'll be presented with a kind of different questions, and you can also go down different paths on these questions. So if the user had a different kind of problem, we can get some more specific feedback, and this can be constructed by JSON files, which is pretty useful. It could be customized by different institutions that would like different questions to be asked. But we actually think this makes more sense as a separate application, and then we just use the BigBlueButton API, which already has something that does the redirecting to an external URL. But we're thinking of contributing this application as an open source version as well, because it's pretty useful. But if a user wants to, if a customer wants to do Google Forms or FormSpring or something, or SurveyMonkey, and just redirect to that so they can get their own feedback system, it should also be supported. And so, having said all that, this is all. This has been an experience. This has all been provided to us by the HTML plugin SDK, and it's pretty cool. And we've been doing the hard part of the process, which is actually getting stuff that is working in our real running applications, and trying to mostly rewrite it, port them to this new format. And so, since we're all developers, we're doing something that we actually don't have. It's not every day that we have the chance of, which is dogfooding our product. Because I'm not a teacher. Most of the people working on MconfLive team, we're not teachers. We use the product every day to have meetings, but we are all developers, and now we get to test something that was made for developers by developers. And so we're in constant contact with the Guilherme, which is the main developer for the plugin SDK. And we're also giving him feedback about what we need on the API, all the functionalities we need, all the bugs we're encountering. We actually added some stuff regarding the generic component, regarding rendering on different areas, regarding showing and hiding parts of the interface. So it has been a pretty, I think, productive back and forth on this question. And hopefully this will take us closer to using the standard BigBlueButton 3.0 version with just a few configuration changes, with a specific plugin set and a few style customizations. In reality, I think we'll still have a few parts of the core which will have our custom code there, but will be a lot closer to the version. And hopefully this will make us this will allow us to be always caught up with the latest BigBlueButton versions and features. Our plugins will be released as soon as the SDK is a little more stable. Right now, we're constantly refactoring stuff, rewriting stuff, because it's all pretty new. But I think soon we'll have some code to share with you guys. And also the last point about not everything being a plugin. I've talked about the custom feedback app, which will probably be done as an outside application. But we have lots of stuff that we use internally that we want to contribute to the core. And so Fred actually exemplified some of this in his presentation. He showed the new video modal. This design was made by our design team. This is something that we've used on our 2.6 version for a few months now. And so the idea is that when we have something that is actually useful for the broader BigBlueButton community, and the BigBlueButton team thinks makes sense to include in the product, we actually want to include it. So Paulo will be speaking tomorrow about LiveKit integration on the media side, which is something that we'll be contributing. Bruno will be speaking on the last day about the redesign of the HTML5 UI, which is something that we really want to contribute. And so the hope is that we can get a more unified experience of the MconfLive product and of the BigBlueButton standard version. And that's mostly it. So I'm open to questions, and I hope I know people are going to ask when they're coming out, so that's why the answer is in the latest slide. Okay. Yeah, I see Brian said that people do tag users all the time. That's our experience too. And yeah, the tour plugin is actually pretty cool. And it does something with the interface, which is render components all over the screen. It gets the position of different buttons. It's a pretty interesting plugin too on the code side as well. Yeah, Jen, the plugins are not public right now. They're on a private repo. The reason that we don't release them on the state that they are is that you'd probably have trouble running them if you aren't using the latest BigBlueButton branch from development and the latest SDK version that's being developed. And it will probably frustrate everyone trying to use them. And we would spend whole days trying to get help everyone to run it. So I think in 1 month or two, everything will be more stable and it will be more sane to release this stuff. But they are very simple plugins. If you look into the SDK, you see that they have lots of examples that touch on almost everything that can be done with plugins.
And Lucas, Jan just asked about, is there a plugin repo? Do you have the GitHub URL for it?
There's no URL as of
But
this
no,
moment.
isn't there the SDK or the example ones that you showed?
Oh yeah, the SDK, yes. The official, I'll post it on chat. Sorry, I was talking about the Mconf plugins.
No, it's okay. They're like wine. They get better with age, and it is still like there's still updates going into the core, like to enable a plugin to write to a panel on the left-hand side. We needed that for the H5P plugin, and like maybe one comment of all the plugins that you and your team have worked on so far. When you started on it, like were most of the scaffolding there, or did you have to add much or get much to be added?
I think the thing with most of the plugins is that 90% of what you need is already there. 90% of the plugin is pretty simple, and then there will be just one thing that is really hard to do. So it usually has to do with how the plugin stores data or what kind of data it needs to get from the backend. But that's why we have the conversations and we try to make the SDK better. And this kind of thing just comes from trying things in real life, trying to use, and then discovering that you can't do it. And then we speak with Guilherme and we get things working. Yeah, so we didn't have the rendering on the sidebar, rendering on the presentation area. This stuff had to be done after.
Awesome. Well, Lucas, I want to thank you for the presentation. I'll stop recording, and the work is really looking great. A lot of people behind it, and Mconf's been a huge contributor over the years, and this looks like it's continuing the trend, and everyone's going to benefit. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you. Thanks very much.